All right, NBL, welcome back to the Extra Point Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Tom, and I have with me Project Fat today. And we are moving into NBL's offseason, just wrapped up the playoffs. Super Bowl, it's going to be your time where every other team's looking forward to their next season right now. So we're going to start off with some free agency here. Kind of a trend that we've seen for NBL's free agency so far is most of the guys in here are kind of vets. We don't really see too much young talent leaving their teams. Some guys that were drafted didn't really work out. It doesn't really happen too much anymore. So a lot of vets in here, but that doesn't mean that it's not as exciting in free agency, because there really is a couple guys that can absolutely change your team, and we're going to talk about a few of them today. First guy I want to talk about was Aaron Rodgers. This guy, he doesn't have the rings under his belt, but you can't argue the guy's talent. He's an absolute stud. The guy's a monster. He can throw the ball through a wall, throw off his back foot on a dime, 40, 50 yards downfield. He's phenomenal. So any team that he comes to, he's really going to make a difference. And the teams that I've noticed as we've just entered into the final stage of free agency, there's two teams that are really making a push for him. One is my co-host here, Project Fat, and his Raiders, and the other one is the Miami Dolphins. Now, either team that he goes to, I think, would be a good fit. The Raiders definitely have a cast around them. They've had Derek Carr for a while. He's had some good seasons, but you can never deny having some veteran leadership in there. But the team that I really think needs to make a serious push is the Dolphins. They had Big Ben this last season, had a vet there. He didn't pan out for them. He left Pitt, went down to Miami for his retirement season, and it just never worked. He got benched pretty quickly, didn't do too much. But they shouldn't lose all hope for veteran quarterbacks, because really I think Aaron Rodgers is a great guy, wonderful talent. They can really change that team around. This team needs help. They can't put playoffs out of the picture. They weren't really in it last year, but at the same time, the division was really up for grabs between the Jets, between the Patriots, and between the Bills. It's really anyone's ballgame. If they can get a quarterback and really turn it around, who knows what's going to happen. So definitely, those are the two teams coming in the stretch that I really think to make a push for Aaron Rodgers. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised to see a third party come in at the end, try to snag him. The Bears, they need a quarterback. They got rid of him. I could see them coming in and trying to pick him up. A couple other teams that are quarterback needy that maybe don't want to go to the draft for it, I could see them swooping in towards the end. But more than likely, Raiders, Dolphins, they're your top two. So, Fat, who do you have as a big free agent for this offseason?
Well, I think this free agent here is the number one free agent in this class. There's a lot of teams that have already spoken with him, brought him in to visit their teams, trying to really convince him to play his last few seasons out with their team. For a while there, the Chargers seemed to be the front runner for this guy, and the guy that I'm talking about is Harrison Smith, free safety. Still pretty young, 32 years of age. I think the safety position, that's still a pretty good age. That's like a kind of a primetime age for that particular position, in my opinion. And the guy's still playing at a pretty high level. He's really good, really great awareness on the football field. He covers the field very, very well, has a lot of range, which I think is most important. And like I said, the guy just still is balling. He's in his 9th year, getting ready to head into his 10th season. And like I said, 32 years of age, but he's still right where he needs to be. And the San Diego Chargers really made a push for him early on. And there's been a couple of teams who've kind of come out of nowhere to really try and persuade this guy to come in and play for their team. The one I saw most recently was the Tennessee Titans, their end train. I think he'd be a great fit, honestly, anywhere that he does decide to go. I think he can really make an impact on any team here in the NBL. But the newest front runner right now, or the newest team involved in this race, is the New England Patriots. Like I said, they kind of came out of nowhere. They complained and talked about how terrible their defense was last season, and they truly think that this guy can make a difference, improve that defense. Like you said, leadership on the offensive side of the ball, well, you need it on the defensive side of the ball as well. And they think that this guy can be a signal caller for this defense and really, really make a change for these guys. But I don't think anyone can play with the Chargers. The Chargers have made it very well known that they've got a lot of money to play with, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to bring Harrison Smith to the Bay and play for the San Diego Chargers this year.
Yeah, and Smith, he's a talent, man. He's really great, and I think it's kind of overlooked about how important it is to not quite as important as that middle linebacker, that, in my opinion at least, but having that guy out there that can essentially play center field. They can come up, cover, they can get deep, patrol the field, swat those deep balls down, get the interceptions. It's a coveted thing in NBL, and it's something that I really think that Harrison Smith has excelled at so far in his career, and I think he's going to continue to excel with whoever his new team is. So enough with the free agents, though. Let's move on to the draft now. This is the time where everyone's just grinding away at the draft board. They're really picking away at who's their top guys, who's going to go where. The war room's going crazy right now. They're trying to figure out who's trading where and what's going to happen. So there's a couple guys that we want to talk about. First off, I want to talk about two defensive players. One is middle linebacker Manny Taylor from Miami. This guy's a monster, man. Honestly, I don't think he's going to end up going in the top 5, but truthfully, I think he's the number 1 talent in this draft. The guy, in his college career, he led his team in tackles for the last 2 seasons. He was 3rd in his team for sacks, so not only is he a tackler and a coverage guy, he can get in there and rush the quarterback. He's got a couple interceptions, so his hands aren't horrible. He can catch the ball, but most importantly on those tackles, man, he just patrols the middle of the field. He can get in there, stuff the run. You lock down those tight ends in the middle of the field. He's just an absolute monster. He's fast. He hits hard. He causes fumbles. Guy is a freak, man. He is a freak, and he is going to be an excellent talent for whoever needs a middle linebacker on the field. And like I said, if I was in the top, if I had number 1 pick, I'd be taking this guy because he's insane. But that's not how NBL works, which is what's going to bring me to my next player, and that's cornerback Marquise Austin. He's projected to be the 3rd cornerback. Doesn't mean he's going to be the 3rd cornerback taken, but the way that we see the drafts work, and especially just going back to last season, the run of cornerbacks, man, that was insane. You see them fly like crazy. So the top talents are going to get taken. They're going to get taken quick. And you're going to see guys that are 1st round grades that maybe shouldn't be 1st round grades. Some guys that are 2nd round grades, they're going to be going mid to early 1st round because people need those cornerbacks. They're so coveted. So one guy that I think people need to stay away from, it's Marquise Austin. He may fool you because in his college career, he's had pretty good hands. You cannot argue that the guy has had some interceptions, which is what puts him up at the top. But the problem is that he's a small guy. He's only 5'11". So when you get into the NBL and you play with these guys that are tall, you need to be able to get up there. 5'11", not that tall. Okay, so let's look at his jumping. His broad jump, his vertical jump were horrible. The guy, he doesn't have any ups. He could make a decent slot corner, but honestly, if you're taking a corner in the top 10, top 15, you don't want him to be a slot corner. You need someone that's going to stay on the outside and really shut the number 1 wide receivers down, and that's not what this guy's going to do for you. Unfortunately, though, like I said, I would truly and honestly be surprised to see him fall out of the 1st round. I really don't think he's going to fall to top 15, top 20. But he's a guy that I would want people to stay away from. Marquise Austin from Texas. I just don't see him panning out in NBL. So, once again, Fat, let me turn it over to you. Tell me about a couple offensive guys you've been looking at.
Yeah, for sure. So I really don't have a guy right now that I'm going to talk about that I think anyone should be afraid of. I think these 2 guys here can definitely make an impact on any team that they go to the first season that they're there. So, I'd really hate for these guys to go to a team that already has somebody in their position that's a starter, and maybe they fall, under the radar a little bit. But these guys are already falling under the radar coming into the draft. Not really top tier talent, but I think these are guys that are definitely crawling up draft board slowly. They had pretty decent combines, and they're getting towards the top of everybody's draft board. And the first guy I'm going to talk about is quarterback Jonathan Mason. He's from Florida. He's pretty big, tall guy. He stands 6 foot tall. He's only 22 years of age, and he used to playing in kind of like a West Coast type offense there, from Florida. And the big thing about him is, he's got some speed. He's pretty big and strong. It's just all around just a great quarterback. He has a lot of intangibles you really look for in a quarterback. He can scramble, he can throw on the run, just from some of the tape and stuff that I've seen on this guy. So I really think, like I said, that he can be a very big impact guy. He's only set right now to be a 3rd round projection, but I think if he falls to the 3rd round, it's going to be an absolute steal. I think he's the best quarterback overall in this draft. based off of what we've seen from the combine, as well as his stats the last couple seasons there in Florida. The next guy, now, quarterback can't do much if they don't have anybody on the other end catching the football. And this next guy I'm going to talk about is Brandon Farmer out of Alabama. And we all know, me being a Raider fan, Alabama, they make some pretty good wide receivers there that make it into the NFL. Amari Cooper being one of those guys. So, Brandon Farmer, another guy, he doesn't have the top end speed, but he doesn't need it. He's quick off his breaks. He runs amazingly good routes, and his hands are amazing. I haven't seen hands like this in a really, really long time. The one thing that's really going to hurt him, like I said, he doesn't have the top end speed, but he is a little bit shorter as well. He stands at about 5'11", but I mean, against most of the corners probably that we see in the NBL, there's not too many much taller than he is, but that size, if he's coming over the middle, kind of worries me a little bit with those big, strong linebackers over the middle of the field. So, but outside of that, like I said, the guy's quick. He's quick off the ball. He's going to beat you on the break, and he's going to make you kind of twist and turn a little bit trying to cover this guy. So I think he could be a big time slot receiver here in his first season in the NBL. So I would definitely watch out for him. And once again, that's wide receiver Brandon Farmer out of Alabama. Can definitely be a big time difference maker here in the NBL.
Yeah, and I like that you hit on Jonathan Mason. I really like him too. I like comparing him to Russell Wilson, actually. He's a very similar quarterback, I think. He's small. He's only 6 foot even. So he's not a big, tall guy, not your 6'3", 6'4" kind of quarterbacks. But he's fast, and he's got sneaky good arm strength. Same as Russell Wilson. Coming into the league, people questioned whether he was going to be tall enough, whether he had the arm for it. But he's got a sneaky good arm. He can escape the pressure because he's got the speed. He can extend the plays just like Wilson, and he's an accurate guy. I think that he's got a 3rd round grade. Seeing the success of a former 3rd round pick like Russell Wilson and stuff like that, and how similar they are in play style, I truly wouldn't be surprised to see him, as you said, crawling up the draft board, possibly going in the 1st round. I would not be surprised to see it at all. So anyway, that's going to be all for our draft now. And as we're getting close to wrapping up the show here, I do want to take a moment here and talk about the retirement of Calvin Johnson. Now, on our show, we don't usually talk about retirements because, honestly, I mean, they're a big deal, of course, for the owners, but in more of a grand scheme, outside of Madden perspective, it's not really that big of a deal. You got him to play with next year. But Calvin Johnson, I mean, we all know how much Bomber loves the guy. He's had so many seasons of Calvin Johnson in the NBL. So, as we're now finishing NBL season 17, he just retired. But this retirement, it's different, though, because not only did he retire from the game, but he also this year retired from real life. So this retirement from Calvin Johnson is officially the last time that you will ever be pestered by Calvin and Bomber in NBL again. It is officially over, and we're going to give a quick tribute to the great, one of the best of all time, Calvin Johnson.
First down mark. They're changing things here. The quarterback changing. He's giving the receiver some new instructions. Gonna take it home for the touchdown. First and goal. Makes the grab.
And with Calvin Johnson's career, he's been absolutely phenomenal. Through his time in the NBL, he's been able to capture 5 NFC championships, and with those 5 NFC championships, 3 Super Bowl rings. So the guy is, you can't argue that he's one of the best, if not the best. I'm sure there's some arguments for that out there, but the guy, absolute monster, complete stud. Hats off to you, Calvin. Enjoy your retirement. You will always be remembered. And one last thing I did want to talk about before we wrap up the show here is, as we do, you're pretty regularly, probably monthly at the very least, as we have another promotion going. So this promotion is of course for the 4th of July. It's pretty late now, so it's tomorrow actually. And the promotion, is for MLB right now. You're gonna DM Homer Hankey, owner of the Colts. He's got all the info listed on there about the games. You DM him the score that you think all the baseball games will combine for, tiebreaker, how many strikeouts you think is gonna be, and you can get a nice prize if you can win. It's free entry, of course, for all NBL and grid guys. Free entry. Just DM him a number, and you're in to go for the prize. So. Anyway, though, that is all the time that we have on the show here. So, as always, I thank you guys for tuning in. Best of luck to everyone in the upcoming season, and we will see you guys back here next time.